but God's call in their life was much stronger than that introversion of themselves. I myself am an extrovert. But,
no.
So this goes with my natural tendency, not a supernatural tendency. But the supernatural tendency is so much more of being able to delve into this, to be able to understand. So you have to think as well, not only what did you grow up with, what are you naturally good at, but what did God put into your life, sometimes as a challenge, just to prove it's Him. Just look all through the Bible. He throws challenges all over the place to people. To one of the most seemingly scaredy-cat people of all, Gideon, he said, you're going to be a judge. You're going to lead the people. And he's like, what? That's supernatural. All through time. David, ruddy in character, youngest of many brothers, last to be brought in, king of Israel. King of Israel. Loyal to a fault to Saul. Brought in to be the king. Supernatural decision. These gifts are things that God gives us. And as we look into our lives and say, what are those natural talents that we have? And then, what is God calling me to? What is God calling me to do? Am I an apostle? Am I a witness? Am I to proclaim to other people? Am I a prophet? Am I supposed to speak something into people's lives? Am I supposed to walk up to them, sometimes strangers, and speak into their lives what God has been telling me? Am I to proclaim the gospel to my friends? Am I to proclaim the gospel to people that God tells me, him or her? Am I an evangelist? Am I a pastor and teacher? Am I supposed to expound on the gospel and to help people when they hit challenging times? Sometimes that's just a friend who can see it in somebody's eye and say what's wrong. Sometimes that's leading a Bible study. What gifts do we have? And how can they be expressed? Whether it's artistic and helping with camp, whether it's nurturing and helping with children, whatever it is, all of us have gifts that God has given us naturally and supernaturally. And sometimes He calls us to something for a season, to do something for a while, and then He calls us to something else, often for His glory. Always for His glory, but often as a challenge. That it's something that we can never see ourselves doing. Like there's a story of a lady who was called to teach Sunday school. And she was like, no, there's no way I can teach Sunday school. There's no way that I can do this. I just can't do this. But God kept saying to her, you are to teach Sunday school. Until finally she signed up and said, okay, I'm going to teach the second grade. And every week she had to haul out of her car all the supplies she needed, and she had to wheel herself up the ramp and into the room and to teach. If she didn't have an excuse, no one has an excuse. What are the gifts that God has laid into us? And what is He calling us to? Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into Him who is the head, that is Christ. See, doing all these things without love is meaningless. Proclaiming the gospel without love. How can you do that? Speaking to other people's lives without love. How can you do that? Ministering to the world, to those in need without love. What's the point? Love is that glue that binds us together as a family of believers. The love that is modeled for us in Jesus Christ. As Jesus Christ said, greater love has no one than this, that He laid down His life for His friends. A love that is not about us, but it's about Christ first, others second, and us third. Some people have the bumper stickers that says, I'm third, to remind them. Some people write it down on their mirror, I'm third, to remind themselves that where they are, there's God first, and then other people second, I'm third. What is love? What is our actions if it isn't for love? See, the wording of this, speaking the truth in love, is not just simply how you speak. The love here is loving the truth. It's the idea of being able to express that, it being in our whole nature. It helps us to care for others. It helps us to care for the lost. It helps us to care for sinners. It helps us to care for the poor. It helps us to care for the needy. It's a compassion, that agapao, that wasn't even really talked about in Greek, because it's a love that seems so unattainable. A sacrificial sort of love that helps us to be a body and helps us to be a family. In our families, we will very readily throw ourselves down to help a brother, a sister, and most especially our spouses, that will do anything. So also in the family of God, we would do the same thing. That with love, when we look at somebody who has fallen aside and is trying to follow a different Jesus, then we're not looking at them and saying, I'm mad at you. We're looking at them and saying, I feel bad for you. I want you to be able to embrace God and feel the full love of His. And to be able to look at those who someone may say are fine living in their sin. They seem to be leading a happy life, but really are lost. We need to see them through Christ-colored lenses, that when we look at them, we don't just see somebody who is successful or somebody who seems to have it all, but we see somebody who needs Jesus. That's the love, that's the lenses that we look through, that's the glue that holds us together. Is that caring for one another. That caring, that sharing, that being together. And so as we come to the end of this Christmas season, we want to be able to give this gift of love to everyone that we see, so that we can gather others to join with us, to celebrate in the joy of the season. Amen.